It's 6 o'clock, excuse me, it's 6 o'clock. We're gonna start the meeting, the planning board meeting at 6 o'clock for November 10th. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, the Republic of one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Couple of brief announcements. If anybody's here for the 6:30 public hearing for 410 Gray Road, that has been continued till Wednesday, the 16th. So if anyone wants to is here for that, they can stay, they can leave if they'd like, but it's Wednesday, the 16th. Do we have a time, Myron, or?
That one, probably 8:30, pending your vote later this evening.
We're going to start the 6 o'clock continued public hearing for 571 Great Road. I'm going to ask that you come up to the microphone, state your name, and we'll give everybody, there's a lot of people there, so we'll give everyone 2 minutes. We're going to start with the board working on it. So we have a draft decision before us. We want to walk through that first. Has everyone had a chance to look at it? Have you guys had a chance to look at it? We've gotten your comments back. Board have any questions about the draft in front of us? Do you want to wait till the end after we've heard from the
Sure.
one or two people that are in the audience that want to speak about this?
As long as I can talk about the questions I have, that'd be fine.
Okay.
Well, yeah, I do have a question.
Okay.
In the conditions, in item 10, it says that the tree stumps are an allowable ingredient in the compost pile, and I think that should be changed to brush, that tree stumps are not. That was my understanding of what the original proposal was. Tree stumps would be treated separately, not in the compost.
To be ground but not put in the compost.
Right.
Which, yeah, mulch. It's turned into
Right, I
mulch,
mean,
correct.
that much wood, it exaggerates the fire hazard.
Well, before we get into the conditions, does the board have any questions of Springdale before we open it up to the public? I think we've talked about most of it.
Yeah, all my questions have already been answered.
Jeff, do you have?
There were some new submittals. Could we go over those?
Sure. Sure, absolutely.
Good evening, first of all. Doug Hausler, representing the applicant. Early this afternoon, there was an on-site meeting between Springbrook and Springdale to discuss many of the issues that have come up during the course of the hearings. And a draft was generated, a memorandum of understanding was generated this afternoon. I just received some comments just now from Mr. Matheson, but I think we are very much well on our way to coming to a formal agreement that will include, and we're going to ask that when we get to that final result, to have those conditions be incorporated into your decision. It'll be helpful to everybody because then it will lay out exactly everybody's understanding of the critical matters for this particular abutter and for my client. Okay. So I thought that was a piece of good news, actually. The other things that we did submit, and one of them is going to be somewhat amended now, is on the plan that you have before you as of today. It's my understanding that there will be a 75-foot buffer between the Matheson property and the Springdale property in terms of the composting operation. Okay. So from the boundary line in, 50 feet will be used for a roadway for the emergency access vehicles, followed by a 25-foot wide berm. The berm is going to be made of what we call non-combustible materials. It will be soils, not wood. So we'll create a berm that's 25 feet wide, so collectively 75 feet, and then the activities will take place within what I call the rock crushing, composting area that is shown. So we're just bringing it in a little bit further. So that's one change to the plan, and we will submit a revised plan to be incorporated into your decision. But I'd ask that that be a condition, the new plan being added to your decision. We've talked about other things about monitoring wells for the benefit of the neighbors and my client, and they've come up with an approach where there will be certain monitoring wells by an independent third party selected by my client but approved by the Mathesons that will see what the wells are, be tested. I'm suggesting that they do a benchmark testing now before any activity takes place, so we know where the level is. And then every year in April, it will be tested again.
Well, normally, we have the Littleton Water Department take care of that. I don't know why you don't.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Only when Aquifer Water Resource Special Permit is required, then the water department gets in. I don't know why you couldn't ask them to do it this time.
My point is, if there's a fee, obviously they would pay it, but I think we should have, since the water department's doing it for the town anyway, if it's at all possible.
We just want the key is that it's independent and verifiable by a third party that nobody controls.
We'll find out from you if the water.
That's fine.
Okay.
So we were moving ahead on that direction. We built in certain monitoring wells, certain a gravel rock well 10 feet into the bedrock, no deeper. So we'll have all those conditions laid out in the memorandum of understanding. In terms of, I know we submitted a revised calculation of the trucks and the trips per day. Now, I think we have to be very practical about this. We could do the mathematical certainty of how many trips per day is it, but let's be real that it's never exactly even on every day. You could have a day where it's 25 trucks, and you could have 3 days with no trucks. But we've shown that the average is actually 0.72 loads per day over the course of the 246 days or whatever it was. 276, excuse me, that we calculated out as the time period when such activities might take place. So again, it's so de minimis when you think about a road that's got 13,000 vehicle trips per day. Even if it was 25 or 30 trips a day, it's not going to impact people. We're supplying actual information. I think it's up here on your board, 0.72. So I think that addresses one of the questions that was raised at the last hearing. Other than that, I think we are pretty well set. We'll let the conditions speak for themselves once we get to a final term. Again, I have only spoken about all of 15 seconds with Mr. Matheson, so I want to be fair and give everybody a chance. But we would like to get a decision entered tonight, close the hearing, a decision entered, and we supplement with the conditions agreed upon by the Mathesons and my client as like a rider to the decision. That's all we ask for.
Not asking for much, are you?
Try not to. Thank you.
Well, thank you. I am happy that you have spoke with the Mathesons and that you've had a
I
dialogue.
give it to the clients. The less lawyering involved, the better off it is.
Here, here.
So does the board have any questions now? Or can I open it up?
Mr. Chairman, can you announce to the people there's overflow room here where they're showing this?
Yes, there is. I thought everyone knew that. Sorry, I apologize. There is a second room if you don't want to stand in the back and you want to see it from. There's another room with TV in there, and we will be able to take your questions. We can take them remotely, right?
No.
No, we can't, so I guess you gotta stay here then. You want to say something. So thanks, George, but I don't think anyone's moving. You can go grab more chairs if you want, I guess, if somebody doesn't want to stand.
It's my understanding from the review of things that have been filed with your board and through the office, there were several dozens of letters put in support. A lot of people came tonight, I think, to do that as well. We appreciate, and I just want to say thank you to those people who supported and are going to speak in support. Thank you very much for your help.
Thank you. So, board has no questions right now?
I do have questions, so when should I ask them?
Do you want, is it conditions of approval or part of the process?
It's part of the process and some of them are conditions, so.
Why not just part of the process and we'll do conditions of approval? How's that?
Okay. All right. So when we were talking about the plan that was up here visible. One of the questions that I have is, can we go ahead and get that site plan endorsed by an engineer? And then it would be great to be able to get markers on there in terms of feet away from, or the distance away from the abutters.
Yeah, we can do that.
Okay.
Yeah, so we're gonna have to revise it after this meeting, I presume anyway, so we can add that then, yeah.
Okay,
Thank you.
great. So one of the things that is in here under section 173-57, number 10, it talks about high degree of assurance. And in terms of some of the issues that have been brought up in the past, I know that, that you have the proposed MOU with the neighbors. But if you could speak to a few of the other hazards that have been addressed here in the past, such as air, odor, or pollution. I believe that was related to the silica, water, noise, fire. That would be great. And then we can go ahead and identify that, I think, in this decision in terms of how those will be mitigated. I mean, that would be my proposition.
I respectfully, I think we have tried to address each of those particular items in the prior hearings. So I would allow the testimony that's been submitted to date to speak for itself in that regard. With respect to the, you know, as John made it very clear, there is no such thing as no dust. There's going to be, but they're using state-of-the-art equipment to minimize that possibility.
So I can, if you have specific question, Anna, like one by one,
Sure, so-
I can answer.
Sure, so the silica, as I mentioned, that was something that Mr. Chair said we could condition that the Board of Health test for that, and so I just wanted to understand what is going to be the way by which we get to see that mitigated.
I don't know if I can answer that clearly, because so I guess there'd have to be a complaint first, right? There'd have to be an issue that we've presented that someone is concerned about. Though the dust is out of control and we can't control with best management practices, and then the Board of Health is gonna get involved, so I presume it's gonna go down if there's an issue.
Okay.
And I think that our reaction to that will be a requirement that Board of Health says, okay, we gotta do some testing, we need to monitor what you're doing, or you're not able to proceed with it going forward. And I think at that point, I'd have to hire a consultant to say, test the oncoming wind and the outbound wind and do all those kind of things. I have some experience with that, but not a lot, so.
Actually, I have a little bit of experience with silica in construction, so OSHA is gonna be involved in it. As soon as you put your machine over there, they'll probably make you bring a sanitation engineer in to check, once you're up and running, to make sure you're not going over the 4 parts per billion or whatever. I don't remember what the number is, but they'll check everything that you do. And if there is an issue, then the Board of Health will get involved. But they'll come in and make sure that you're compliant. You're between using your water to crush it, making sure that you're not releasing any of it. I mean, they're very specific now. Silica is a big deal right now. So they'll be the ones that will come in and tell you what to do and not to do, and whether you're in compliance or not. You have to be in their compliance, or you can't even run the machine. So
Right.
So they'll have a sanitation engineer there for that to start.
Great.
So I guess
And-
And we can condition that as part of it, to make sure that we start off that way.
Yeah, I mean, our concern is just, I don't know what the cost of that is, and,
And it's not-
yeah, okay. If you have experience with it, it's
I've
not
done
terrible,
it
then
on my
fine,
construction
I
sites.
don't know how much that is, so.
I don't want to try to predict every problem
Yeah.
when there isn't a problem yet. So if there is a complaint, that will trigger all sorts of reviews.
Right. But OSHA definitely gets involved. You're talking about silica, they'll be involved from the get-go.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, sorry about that.
No, it's fine.
Thank
All
you.
right.
So
Appreciate it.
again, I'm just simply trying to make sure that we are addressing all the questions that have been raised in the past, and having a blanket statement just really wasn't sufficient, so that's why I'm asking this.
Sure,
So then in terms of the water, I think when I was out visiting today, you indicated that the monitoring well, so that's the way to
Yes,
be
we met
able
with the
to.
Mathesons today, and at their request, we're willing to install them. I think we're gonna, one of the conditions that we're putting in the memorandum is that we'll engage a third party to come in, look at the topography, look at the runoff potential, designate where they think the wells should be and what type they are. And that we also discussed sampling, the third party having the ability to go on to the Matheson's property on a yearly basis and sample their spring that feeds their cows, which is one of their main concerns, as well as sample Jamie's irrigation pond, which isn't too far away, as the kind of like markers on something if it appears, and then upgrading of that, a couple of gravel wells up right next to the compost, within probably 50 feet of it, I would think, to see if anything's migrating. And then a rock well that would be in between the two that if it were to leave the compost area and start to migrate into bedrock, you'd pick up on it before it's at the property line, well before the property line if there's an issue, so.
Great.
These points are all addressed in the memorandum.
Yeah.
Great.
And Springdale's paying for all that work to be done to hopefully appease them in their concerns.
So, and then related to noise, I think that really stems from the whole idea that if folks hear something that's of concern, they can raise that with you. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Sure. They
We
can
just,
go-
yeah, and they definitely are more than welcome, if it's a constant issue, call the building inspector and he's gonna monitor it and make sure we're keeping it under control.
I think the biggest noise issue is gonna be the beep, beep, beep of your trucks backing up. So we gotta make sure that you're not starting at 6:30 in the morning or 7 o'clock in the morning,
Yep.
that when
Agreed.
you're cognizant of the fact that people will have their windows open and will hear it.
Yeah, and I hope that berm helps with that noise, that's the intention of it, so, yeah.
Okay.
So those are my only comments or questions related to the findings, and then I'll wait for any conditions when we're
Okay.
done.
Thank you.
Thank
Does anyone
you.
else have any questions that
Anybody
maybe I
else
can
on the
answer?
board? No?
Okay.
We'd like to open it up to
Sure.
anyone who wants to speak. Raise your hand, I'll call you, come to the podium, say your name, and I'll give you, I can't really count, but I'll try to keep you to 2 minutes. As long as we stay on point too, by the way.
Sure, I will. I didn't get a chance to submit my letter to you beforehand, so I wanted to just come up and speak. Darrell Baker, Gristmill. I've been a resident of Littleton for about 20 years, supporting the local agricultural community up and down Gristmill, Great Road and the orchard here. And I'm here tonight to speak on behalf of favoring Jamie's application for the piece here. I've watched the previous hearings. I'm very impressed with the outreach that they've gone through to address the concerns. But I also want to point out that a few years ago, we voted to be a right-to-farm community. What does a right-to-farm community mean? It means that we support our farms. It means farms produce odors. Farms produce food. Farms need to do land reclamation. These are all normal activities that we expect, and we supported that as a town. We've notified the abutters, and quite frankly, the outreach to address their concerns has been impressive. I see no reason for this board to deny their application for this expansion. Thank you.
Thank you.
Casey Winter, 11 White Pine Drive. My name is Casey Winter, Littleton resident and Littleton small business owner. Myself, along with my wife and 2 boys, live in Littleton, and we have for the past 6 years. And I've been visiting Springdale Farm for over a decade now. With the guidance and leadership of Jamie and Cruz, Springdale represents what we love most about this community. When the surrounding area was in need during the pandemic, Jamie was one of the few places we knew we could safely get produce, groceries, and local goods. When going through the process of opening up my own business in town, Jamie was the first person to provide support and help navigate this process. And as a small business owner, I can appreciate the fact that Jamie supports dozens of local businesses, including serving as a landing spot for multiple food vendors, including myself. They care deeply about this community, about their land, and have always kept the needs of this town in mind when making decisions. We've heard the concerns presented by neighboring homes and adjacent farm, all raising valid concerns to be considered by yourself, the planning board. We feel that Jamie, John, and their attorney have respectfully and thoroughly addressed each concern, along with the following: the specific special permit requirements every step of the way. Additionally, the nature of the project will be governed by local and state level organizations to ensure Jamie and John are continuing to meet these requirements moving forward. After 80 plus years of farming in this community, and with Jamie currently at the helm, she has earned the benefit of the doubt that this town will respect her farm, or she will respect her farm, her land, and her neighbors with this current plan. We want to see abundant crops and beautiful open space over this next decade in the Dell, and not more housing development and countless construction projects. There's little doubt that this development could happen if this does not pass. With all this in mind, along with the support of countless others, we would strongly encourage the planning board to approve this special permit, ensuring the farm can continue to support this community for another 100 years. Thank you.
Thank you. Don't worry, George, I'll get you next.
Hi, my name is Miriam Lezak. I live in Acton. So I have been a customer. I've been part of Jamie's CSA for several years. And I just want to speak to how much I know that she respects the land. You know, this is her life. She respects the land. She respects the need to farm properly, reclaim the land, keep it going, and also just the importance of having farms like this in the area. I know, you know, I just heard, you know, Littleton is a right to farm community. It is so necessary to keep that going. And I'm speaking for Jamie, for the farm, and thank you. And thank you, Jamie.
Thank you very much.
Come on, George, let's get it over with.
Mark, that's not very nice.
Oh, he knows I'm kidding.
Thank you.
You know I'm only kidding, right, George?
Oh, yeah, I know you're kidding, Mr. Chairman. Just have a few concerns here, Mr. Chairman. And I'm just bringing it up because it's most likely it's going to get approved tonight. I have no doubt that you're probably going to do the right thing here tonight. But what I wanted to say was that I have a little concern about the rock crushing twice a year. And this is what I thought about very long. Number one, the leaves are off the peach trees. Come September, I guess, they're off. So why couldn't he do crushing from September 15 through December the 15th, instead of going from the spring, because that's when the leaves are going to start coming out on the peach trees. And I would think that it's going to be a 10-year deal for them crushing rocks anyway. So if they get 90 days to crush in the year, then nobody gets hit with the dust and so forth starting off in the spring of the year. The other thing that I thought was that this berm they have set up, right now it's a 9-degree. Why they couldn't put 3 sides on that? And if they put 3 sides on that and have it directed into the farm more than having one side which exposed on the Madison side, then I would think that if 80% of it's going to be watered down, then the other 20%, there may be a mean of taking a filter system, wherever that is, and pulling that 20% and put in a wet burlap bag, Xing out of it. Because the dust is more crucial than the noise. The noise we can live with. The dust we got a problem with. So I would think that if it's possible to crush one time a year instead of twice, that's going to help eliminate some problems. And I don't know, I'm just saying, but I'm most likely going to prove it, but I think those are some points that you need to take in consideration as to twice a year versus once a year. And Madison don't have to worry about the dust getting on the leaves or on the peach. Thank you.
Would you like me to
Sure.
answer kind of why? Actually, thank you, George. This came up between the Mathesons and I, and today it was discussed kind of why 2 times a year. So, I want to explain the kind of the cyclic cycle of how we're going to be able to do this. So, starting in about this time of year, every year, our construction projects start to slow down. And our time and ability to free up equipment that we don't have to rent or, additionally buy come available. And my time is from now until March to work on the phases and sections of land, which will involve separating as much rock as we can mechanically with an excavator, pushing it with a bulldozer over to an area, and then obviously processing that rock in our window in the spring. And what that does is that's going to allow us to use that material to build the roads to then reclaim these pieces and put them into production. So if we agreed to just the fall, we could do that, but what it does is it stunts the ability for us to reclaim the land in 2 ways. If we have a real rainy year, that land is really wet up there. There's shallow bedrock, there's a lot of water that runs out of the bedrock, which we discussed with the Mathesons today, and they agree. It's underground, it's on the surface everywhere. We need that stone to be able to create access, to be able to re-screen the loam, put it back down, thicken up the depth of the plantings, and get it into production. My fear is if I do that in the wintertime, now it's a barren section of land, and we talked about how we're going to reclaim it quickly so it doesn't stay open too long. I need to be able to process that rock, build the road, and put the topsoil back on it in the spring and early summer to put that into production. If I wait till the fall, I do that work in the winter, I have a whole year behind where I have vacant land. So that's the real reason why it's twice. My opportunity to do it in the fall, we can obviously try to do as much as possible, but I need the option in the spring to be able to process the rock and make the roads. So that's the reason, George. That's it. All right?
Yes, sir.
My name is David Sullivan. My wife and I live at 91 Nagog Hill Road, the old Morrison house next to the orchard. Just briefly, the Springdale farm is a treasure. I hope you get to allow it to continue. Thank you.
Mark Rambacher, 205 Hartwell, and I'm a member of the Select Board. I will say that this issue has generated the second most email of any issue since I've been on the Select Board, and 95% of it is in favor of Jamie's. I don't know how much of you guys get, but the Select Board has been inundated in this past week with support for Jamie, so thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Erica Pudgorny, 6 Fox Lane. I just wanted to speak in favor of Jamie. Her farm is a staple in this town. It is, my kids went to farm school, or I don't know how you, there. They learned how to care for the land, how to care for the animals. My oldest daughter worked at the farm. I've been a customer for as long as I can remember. And every time I go to a meeting where we're talking about what we want our town to be, we talk about the agricultural history of our town and about preserving our land, and this is our opportunity to do it. I don't want to see this farm that is such a big part of this town, and such a big part of my family, to turn into homes and a new development of McMansions. Please do the right thing. Thanks.
Thank you. Before I take anyone out, I just want to make sure we're going to continue the 6:30 public hearing for 410 Great Road to Wednesday the 16th, and we're going to do it, what time did you say, Lauren?
8:30.
8:30, so.
But I would recommend a vote of the board to continue that, open and immediately continue.
I'll entertain a motion to continue till.
I so move.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. All right, we can continue. Ma'am, you had your hand up? Sure.
Hi, my name is Jill Cressy Gross. I live in Westford. And I'd like to, sorry, I'm not very well spoken. I grew up in Wilmington and next to the neighboring town of Tewksbury. They both used to have farms. They both used to have open spaces. There are no more open spaces in Wilmington save for where the wetlands are because they obviously can't build on them. Tewksbury might have 1 or 2 farms left, but they're owned by the state. They might be under conservation, I'm not sure. But I guess the point I want to make is, you know, if her farm's in danger of falling to development, even if partially, that's a resource you're not ever going to get back. You know, there's some very nice farms surrounding it, but you'll have one less. And I just think it should be considered. Thank you very much.
Hello, my name is Megan Duncan. I live at 1 Harvest Lane, so my property is directly across the street from Springdale Farm. I'm here to speak in really benefit of Jamie. I knowingly bought my property across the street from a farm, fully knowing there would be noise, smells, odors. Happy to live across the street and wake up to the sound of goats every day. It's one of the things I look forward to every morning. I also have the benefit of looking out my window, and I've seen the transformation Jamie has brought to her farm stand and her property. There's so many opportunities for community engagement. She's constantly looking for ways to improve her relationship and deepen her roots with her town. She's providing local produce and meats to some of the restaurants in town, to some of the schools. Been a member of her CSA. I'm so proud to be a neighbor of Jamie. And it would be terrible to see her lose her property or her land to a development. I think that would negatively not only impact our town, but our schools, and just the overall feel of the community that we have already.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Karen McNamara, Mattawanaki Trail. I apologize for not following this, Jamie, because I've been at that farm stand for over 40 years. I knew your great-grandmother, great-uncle. Loved them, miss her flowers. Someday, plant that hill again. Anyway, I think they're wonderful, and I agree with all of the wonderful things. But I live on Forge Pond, and long before Jamie arrived on the scene, literally, there was some serious pollution from some other farm, shall we say, because of the streams. And when you brought up the water that is on the bedrock and then comes out, I don't know if the state or local government checks on that and sees where that lands. And that's the only thing I would ask you to think about, is because I don't know if you were around when the fish. Okay, we had dead fish everywhere, and it wasn't Jamie's farm, so or her mother's, or her grandmother's, or her grandmother's. So that's the only thing I would ask of you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Frank Matheson, Springbrook Farm. Springbrook Farm has been in my family for over 300 years, and it hasn't been a working farm in Littleton for 300 years because we haven't fought to have outside things that are negative effects on our land or our business. You know, we've fought for those things over the years when we feel they're right. And I feel like it's of the board's interest to make decisions and have rules so that our farm can stay operational for another 300 years, because I know that my daughter deserves a shot just as much as Jamie's kids deserve a shot at their land. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
Right. DJ Auger, 27 Mattawanakee Trail. My only concern with what they're looking to do is I also live on Forge Pond, and I'm concerned about the runoff coming into our lake from the stump grinding and the rock crushing. It's just, I don't want to see my home value going down or anything because we're getting polluted. And I know a lot from the runoffs of both farms, they end up winding up into the lake. And it's a concern of mine.
Okay.
And yeah, that's my big deal.
Thank you.
I am Michael Livingston at 1 Chipmunk Lane. I am also on Forge Pond. I'm a member of the board, friend of Forge Pond, and also the Conservation Commission. So I'm very concerned about how the runoff into Forge Pond is, and we are very active in monitoring that. It is a lot better than it used to be, and I'm sorry, I guess I'm drifting off topic, but by following what Jamie's been doing, I can only say that it seems like she's taking the most responsible approach that she can. Is compromised, has given back more than she asked for at the beginning. And I'll only say that we've been here for about 10 years. The moment we closed on our home, we bought a turkey at Jamie's farm and then went down to Springbrook and bought pies for Thanksgiving. So both farms are very precious to us, and I only hope to see them both expand with this plan and others going forward. Thank you very much.
Anyone else? Oh, well, you didn't raise your hand, but you can come up.
Good evening. My name's Jenny Outman. I live at 75 Harvard Road. I submitted a letter of support, so I'll just keep this brief. I've been a CSA shareholder, I think, since the first year that Jamie opened it up. Jamie's a farmer, but she's also a visionary and a businesswoman. And in the time we've lived in Littleton, she's created several CSA programs. My daughter also attended the farm camp. She's built this beautiful farm stand that we all enjoy, and she's opened up the farm to the community and put on events. The proposal before you would allow her family, who's owned the land for generations, to keep farming and providing fresh local food to Littleton and the surrounding towns. I'm so pleased to hear that there's been progress with Springbrook, and that they're hopefully going to enter into this memorandum of understanding, because that I know is so important, and as I know that Jamie's been working really hard to make that happen. And I would just say that the proposed plans are well within the allowed uses of the accessory businesses uses at active farms, and I would urge you to approve the special permit. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to be heard? Otherwise, I think we'll start discussing the conditions and any last thoughts we have.
Close the hearing?
I think we should keep it open while we can discuss the conditions. Okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we should in case we have some issues.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, I think I heard people say that they can't hear you.
Oh. Sorry about that. So we're going to discuss the conditions that we have in front of us that we've worked out with Jamie's team and Maren. And any last questions that we have, and then we'll see where we go with that. Okay. You have some questions about the conditions. I'll start with you, Anna.
Sure, thank you. So, under conditions for rock crushing operations, I think that one of the questions that I had there is, it's a time period, March 1 through April 30th, and up to 30 days, November 1 through December 31. And so I was just confused about the truck schedule, because let me make sure I understand it. So the truck schedule is that for the composting? That's for the composting, or for?
Yeah, it's generally referencing the 100-yard trails that we're bringing in the compost leaf litter and wood
Okay.
debris that's mixed together, yeah.
Okay, all right, just wanted to make sure. And then under number 4, the rock crushing operation. So I would like to expand that to just say, rock crushing operations shall meet all state and federal rules, regulations, laws, or guidelines, because those are all very kind of different. And I know that you had mentioned OSHA, so if that's going to be one of those federal departments, then I think that would fit under that.
And we also, I don't know if you'd like to modify this now, but it's in the memorandum of agreement.
I was just going to point that out.
Why don't you do that,
May
Doug,
I?
just so.
Sure. Thank you. If
Just,
you don't mind. Based on the discussions today, that the relevant time period for rock crushing would be from February 15th through April 15th, and then November 1st through December 31st. And that was discussed with the Mathesons today.
And the intention of that was to hopefully complete crushing operations prior to any blossoms opening, to be well ahead of the schedule of that as much as we can. And then we've also added in the memorandum of agreement that if for some reason there's a prevailing wind and an issue, that the Mathesons can call us and we will suspend operations during that period. So, and that is the same thing, I would say that's open to the neighbors as well. We're open to that condition. If there's an issue, we're gonna stop, so.
That's what good neighbors do.
Yeah, so we're amenable to that being in there, if you'd like to add that in. Just some.
If you're amenable to it, then yes, please,
Yeah.
we should. Thank you.
Yep.
So under number 7, because we're talking about the rock crushing operation, from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. And so I was just wondering if 7 a.m. could be pushed to 8 a.m.?
I couldn't change the 7 a.m., but I could shorten the end of the day for sure. The issue with it is our shift for our entire company starts at 7. Most likely, I think I talked about this in a prior hearing, but the plant starts at 7, and most of the time they won't run for half an hour anyway, so we're at 7:30 no matter what before it's even operational. They have to heat up the oil before they'll run, and that's over half an hour even in the summertime. So I wouldn't mind if you wanted to say the actual, so what I don't want to do, Anna, is agree that we can't. So we have to start the machines at 7 to be able to run at 7:30. We could put 7:30 as the earliest time we're actually processing rock. I don't mind that. But our shift starts at 7, so it would change everything with our guys, and it would be better if we could hold the 7 start date. But you could say processing the rock not to begin before 7:30 if you wanted to really define the crushing activity, if that helps.
Yes, we should add that in.
You just don't want to be telling the guys that can't come in and start till 8, then it's 8:30, and then, yeah.
What about the trucks? Same thing with the trucks, deliveries, no deliveries before 7:30?
Yeah, well, 7, because they're all gonna be in there at 7.
It's the beep, beep, beep.
But that complies with your normal construction schedule in town, so I don't feel like we should deviate from that. I understand the concern, but we're trying to operate normally, you know?
So 7:30? Okay.
For trucks or for crushing?
7:30 for the rock processing.
I agree.
All right, so one of the things that I think has been noted here tonight is a good neighbor discussions that have been happening, and so I know that is really important to continue, and I think that just putting something in here about a good neighbor commitment so that there is an opportunity for folks to be able to make sure that before things come to the town, that you all have had an opportunity to talk about it. I don't know if that's something you'd be willing to actually put in there.
Yeah, and I don't know, I would encourage them to reach out to Jamie or myself if there's an issue. anyway. We don't want to create issues for the town to have to deal with, but if it's unresolvable, then obviously it's going to elevate to the
Right.
next step. But
Yeah.
we would prefer it comes to us first.
Yeah. That'd be
As
great.
we would too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. Thank you. So that would be an addition. Then under number 9, same thing, composting shall meet all state and federal rules, regulations, laws, or guidelines. And then I think Mass DEP is one of the groups that you need to get your permit from, right?
Mhm.
So that would, I think, fall under that one. Let's see. Oh, I know, under number 13, I think I had mentioned this at the very first meeting, and that is that the amount of, I guess I'm calling it working space, the space within the borough. Is there a particular term you'd like to use?
The footprint, I
The
guess, of
footprint?
the operation, yeah.
Yeah, so the footprint is going to be a little bit more than the 5% that's allowable in the bylaw. So I would just like to say that the planning board acknowledges that it will go up to about 5 acres and that we're okay with that. So whatever the language is around that.
It would be a waiver.
Yes.
So that would, yeah. That's-
And then my final comment under number 15 is, says applicant shall provide an annual update. And I would just like to add language that says annual update within 12 months of the anniversary of the special permit approval.
An update regarding what, though?
To the planning board regarding operations under the special permit. It's condition number 15.
What would that be, just so we know? Is that just like a letter saying?
What details you need? I just want to be more specific then.
What would you
So I
like in
think
the
To
update?
clarify, this is already condition number, what, 15?
15,
And
yeah.
Anna's just asking that
We put it-
the timeframe be annually, starting 1 year from issuance of the permit.
Oh, okay.
That's
Yeah,
fine.
that's it.
That's fine. Okay.
Yeah, it's already in there, nothing new. That's it, that's what I had in terms of the conditions.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Anna. Bartlett, do you have any questions or concerns?
No, at the meeting this afternoon, there was some discussion of how the reporting from the third-party water samplers would be reported to the town and anybody else that's interested. So I think you've probably got that covered, but
I mean, the suggestion that was discussed, I believe with the Masson that sounded reasonable was, we would engage a third-party review location. We would get some background in the near future. Every April, annually, every April, we'll test all these locations. That report will go to the Board of Health for record, and it will also be supplied to the Mathesons at the same time by the third party, so they have the information.
Yeah, we added that into the memorandum.
So that's what we agree we think is a good process.
And I still think we'll ask the water department if they're interested in, if they want to do the testing.
We can provide it to them too.
Happy to.
Either way.
Okay. Anything else? That's it? Jeff, do you have anything?
Just building on that last point, you had this several comments about the Forge Pond issue, and it seems to me this is a real advancement of dealing with any issues on Forge Pond, that you will now have data. And so this is just to point out to the people who remarked upon that this is a really, it's a bonus of this agreement.
Yeah, thank you.
Elisa?
No, I met with Jamie this weekend and had all my questions answered, so I'm good.
Okay, well, I'm happy that you've reached out to the neighbors and specifically the Mathesons to come to some sort of understanding, because we don't want it to Hatfield and McCoy's. We want everybody to succeed there. I think it's in your best interest to have a good relationship with everybody around you. And it looks like you're trying to do that. I know, like I said, I know that everyone's concerned about the dust and everything. I don't know if people remember 30 years ago when Sandville was up and running and we had plumes of dust there. We don't do that anymore because the federal government got involved and they have to have scrubbers and they have to have certain ways to do things and everything else, and I'm sure you're gonna have the same issues there, and they'll take care of it that way. So if there is a complaint, I'm sure it'll go to the Board of Health, and then we'll hear about it, but hopefully we won't. And it's, you know, my only concern is the composting. I would hate to approve this and then have an odor issue or something like that. I want to make sure that you're going to do the best you can, best management practices there, and be cognizant of people that live around there that open their windows in the summer, don't want to have to deal with it. Sounds like you're making attempts to mitigate it as much as possible. I hate to date myself, but I was on this board when we wrote the bylaw that we're trying to approve for you this evening to help support the farms, to make them stay in the town and to give them options to make them viable, to exactly for this reason. So this is a plus that something that we did 20 years ago is hopefully going to help you keep the family farm. So
Thank you.
I have no problem with it. I just want to make sure that you're not imposing anything that the neighbors wouldn't want there. So I'm good with it. I'm good with that we include the concerns of the Mathesons and the agreement that they've had into our decision. I don't see any reason to keep the meeting open. I'd entertain a motion to close the hearing and vote it, obviously subject to all the conditions we've talked about.
I so move.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, now I'll entertain a motion to approve the added, what are we calling this? Added agricultural uses for Springdale Farm?
Accessory use at active
Active
farm.
farm special permit.
All right, but what he said. Anyone want to second that?
Seconded.
All those in favor of this big ask, yes, by saying aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you for your hard work, too, Brad.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. Well, it was a little late now, we closed it, but it was, go ahead.
We would like to thank the members of the planning.
Want to do it up there? Sure.
Fran Matheson.
Go ahead. Thank you all.
Thank you, Fanny.
All we were asking
Pleasure working with you.
is to maintain a clean environment, a healthy forest, thriving ecosystem, clean water, maintain a home health, everything that's in place for that.
I think it'd be good.
We
I'm
love all of our farms.
I'm happy that you guys finally got a chance to talk.
I was really educated a lot about compost. I'm going, compost.
I enjoyed our talk too, Fran. That was very helpful when you and I chatted, so thank you.
Thank you very much.
On a personal note, are you the one who buys the begonias in the spring?
Yes, begonias.
Please keep it up.
I will. I was looking at begonias.
I can always count on you. Yeah.
She's coming in.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Thanks, Fran. Thank you so much.
Thank you. We have a 7 o'clock continued public hearing.
Not 7 o'clock, though.
Spec Pond, no, that one's still on. Oh, we're a couple minutes early.
We can do board business.
Oh, yeah.
They're shaking hands.
Can you guys go outside so we can keep going?
Well, I think.
Bills, yeah, let's do bills. You know, that went a lot better than I thought.
Well, it's interesting.
Should pack the damn place 2 months ago.
I would be afraid to vote against. Not that I would have been, not that I had any interest in it, but.
And the Mathesons are in favor. You know,
Well,
they can't throw too many rocks, I know.
But also the surliness and.
I know, and they're doing everything anyway.
But I gotta be impressed. The people are coming in. There's dirt on their hands and their jeans and their boots, and
The Mathesons have, they can.
John?
Gone.
Durkin?
Oh, yes, very.
I mean,
Thank
just
you.
in the way he handled himself.
Oh, you'll be fine. You'll be fine.
How are you? Hanging in there. Yes.
Any updates, board member updates while we're killing time? You got anything?
So, no, I have nothing.
Nothing. Jeff, you have anything?
No. Oh, I wouldn't mind being a member of the open space committee or whatever. Open space and recreation.
We
I don't-
tried to do board business right now?
Yeah, we're trying to do
Yeah,
board
let's-
business
okay.
right now, killing
Let's get
time.
board business done with.
Yes. What?
You are the chair. Can you please sign up here?
Oh, my
I
God.
mean, I can sign there, but I'm not the chair.
I'll sign it twice, all right? You happy? Wasn't even
So
looking.
what else on board business?
Board member updates. Anybody have anything? Do you have any, Bartlett?
Well,
No.
I was at the meeting with the Mathesons this afternoon, and it was, I thought, very productive.
Yeah, I met with both parties
No,
separately.
it's good. It's good that they could work it out.
To get them together
Oh, yeah.
was really helpful.
So
Yeah.
Jeff wants to be on the Open Space and Recreation Planning Committee. Does anyone have a problem with Jeff being the planning board member for that?
Nope, go for it.
Do you like
up
open
to-
space?
I do like it. I'm on it every single
Do
day.
you like recreation?
Eh.
Yeah, he's not much on recreation, I can tell you. Anyone else
No,
want
I
to do it?
don't have any.
Bartlett, you want to do it, or do you have enough hats already?
What?
Do you want to be on the Open Space Recreation Committee? You want to, I'll make the motion to appoint Jeffrey to the Open Space Recreation Committee.
I'll second that.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Minutes, anybody have any minute problems with October 6th or October 25th?
The only ones that were posted were October 6th.
Well, why does it say the 25th?
I was trying to,
You were.
well,
All right,
that was
anybody have
It was
any problem with October
overpromising,
6th?
and now you've underdelivered.
absolutely.
All right, so October 6th, we're good?
Yep.
Good.
All right,
Good.
I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes as written for October 6th, 2020. Second?
Aye. I mean,
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Good. Bills we just did. Town planner minutes, bicycle and pedestrian plan survey and BTA community workshop, November, that's November 6th. You're just reminding us that that's what it is, right?
Yeah, next Wednesday, you have a joint meeting with the Select Board and Finance Committee. We're going to meet with the MBTA Communities Consultant, Emily Innes, and Eric Halverson of RKG will lead the group through several policy questions to,
And then we're gonna do Affordable Housing Trust too for 2 minutes, right?
well, affordable housing, because as soon as you get the Planning Board and Select Board in the same room, you also have a quorum of the Affordable Housing Trust,
Okay.
so.
So one update, I guess, I might as well share. Jeffrey, myself, and Maren met with town council about the firearms bylaw. There's gonna be another draft that you guys should see soon, just because of some questions or concerns that came up. Maren is working on the map to show where potential businesses can go, so hopefully we'll have that before next Wednesday, correct?
Right, I was able to give information to our IT department, and she's working with the assessor's office on coming up with a map to help the discussion next Wednesday, the public hearing next Wednesday.
And we had a
Next Wednesday, like the day before we meet?
We are meeting
We are
on
meeting
Wednesday.
meet on Wednesday.
Oh, so we're not gonna get it till that day?
This will be the the opening of the public hearing.
So this is, yeah.
They're trying to get us to us as soon as possible.
you're talking about the mapping.
The mapping.
Yeah.
The mapping.
Just talking about the mapping.
Okay, just the mapping, not a new version, because I thought I heard you say a new version, Mark.
Yeah, there is. There's just some corrections and some changes that we asked town council to look into to take
Right.
care of.
It's just really
And town
problematic.
council will be there to walk us through the entire bylaw, not just the few changes.
So the main issues are, is the map, the mapping is really critical at this point.
Yeah, I agree.
And then the issue is the distances.
Yeah.
And everyone might have, regardless of what the bylaw presented says, everyone may have their own opinions about that, but that's what the hearings are for.
Well, so I understand how critical it is to get this done and sooner rather than later, but, I mean, even if we can get the documents on Tuesday, the day before, that would be really helpful.
They're gonna try. The corrections there were, as Jeff said, talking about the distances. Oh, by the way, Wellesley, was it Wellesley? Wellesley's gun bylaw was approved by Attorney General's office, so.
Oh, okay.
So at least we know that we're in the right direction, because most of what we're talking about is from Wellesley and Newton's bylaw. So there's talk about the distances. They're also talking about components. Remember, we had an issue about components? They're looking into whether or not we can or cannot restrict the component parts of a gun. So they're gonna get more information to see if we can or not. Because Jeff brought up that point where we had our Zoom
So,
call.
from a legal point of view, the Second Amendment law is changing as we speak. And so they can look at other jurisdictions and the California this and blah, blah, blah. It's sort of interesting. And it's changing toward being more lenient. That being said, that is what it is. So one of the other things that people can think about is that whether we bring firing ranges into this, their feeling is legally it's iffy, and as long as there's no commerce involved in them, and we do have a firing range in town, as long as there's commerce involved, that's fine to not bring them in, but we can always, at a future date, make, anyway, it's just gonna be an issue. They were not recommending us putting that in the bylaw because of the recent,
New York, wasn't it?
it was New York and California.
In Chicago.
Chicago, oh,
As well.
there was a specific case in Chicago where, regardless of surrounding firing ranges, if a municipality does not have one, they're entitled to have one.
Because the Second Amendment says you have the right to bear arms, but the interpretation is you also have to be proficient in it, so you need a firing range to be proficient, so you can't restrict them from, so that's what they're looking into right now. That was probably the biggest thing.
And on the, you talk about the right, there is no right, at least yet, to be able to sell firearms or to be able to buy firearms, at a specific place. So we're hoping that stays the same.
And we're also looking at the mapping of it to make sure that it's, wherever we approve is viable and it does work, because the first thing the Attorney General is going to it'll throw it out if we're making it so restricted that you actually can't do it. So we want to make sure there's a certain amount of firearms dealers that will be allowed in the town. Whether they come or not, that's another story, but we have to make it so that they can if it.
Well, will there be an issue if it's restrictive enough that there are 3 places in town?
See, that's the number, that's where we thought 3 was the number.
Yeah, there's more than 2.
More than 2.
More than 2.
Yeah.
And we're gonna explain that to the 97 dealers that are here now.
That's another whole
Well,
issue.
that's, as Maren has, emphasized, this is a forward-looking thing, so, anyway. And, yeah, so.
We're now past 7, Mr.
All right, okay, I was just killing time, all right.
Just comment.
All right, so we have a 7 o'clock,
Wait, did we close out board business?
are we done? Why, do you have
Yeah.
something else you
No,
want to do?
okay, yeah, I just
I
wanted to
don't
make
have
sure.
to take a vote to close it, we're just done with it, it's just one of those things I just
Actually,
can't do.
I had one more quick thing. You had mentioned the bicycle survey. I think just a general service announcement to any viewers that please go to the town website and take the bicycle and pedestrian survey. Do you know how long that's open till, Maren?
We're gonna get preliminary results at the December 1st meeting, but they will leave it open, probably for a week or 2 after that.
Okay.
But results, they've gotten a lot of response so far, it's been great. Every department has helped with the outreach, school department, Elder and Human Services, it's been great.
Great,
Okay.
thank you. Sorry, that's all I
All
wanted.
right, we have a 7 o'clock continued public hearing, 6 Spectacle Pond Road. Water Resource District Special Permit, Site Plan Review, and Stormwater Permit for Jensen Builders Contracting LLC. Anybody here? Sure.
Mr. Chairman and members of the board, my name is Seth Donahoe with Dillson Roy Civil Design Group. We last met regarding this project on October 6th. You're kind enough to bring up a rendering of the plan. What we had proposed is 6 essentially contractor bays with adequate parking and sufficient utilities on the existing site, which is presently a loan processing yard, material storage yard. It has a lot of improvised utilities on it, so one of the benefits of our project is that we're going to be integrating a compliant stormwater management system into it, as well as incorporating a Title V and Littleton Board of Health compliant septic system into the site. We had discussed many aspects of the site last time. We essentially left here with just a couple punch list items. One thing that you wanted addressed was screening, and you wanted to see a rendering of the proposed building. And then we also agreed to complete a peer review process with Green International. I met with our peer review engineer outside briefly while we were waiting for this meeting. So at any time, I can certainly jump to those topics. Just want to let you know that we did send over revised plans earlier this week. One of the issues related to screening, we had originally had a landscape sheet, which is, I believe, is sheet 6 in the set. And all along Spectacle Pond Road, there's basically shrub vegetation, some small deciduous trees at this time. We had originally proposed to supplement that with deciduous trees along the entire frontage, and then have some lower growing native seed mix in that area. Due to the board's request to have any loan operations screened, we have swapped out approximately half of that, so half of the length of the frontage will be permanently screened with arborvitaes. And we had talked at the last meeting, the actual operations of the site are approximately 8 to 10 feet lower than the road, so there's already some natural screening there, but we'll be supplementing those with trees at planting. They're a minimum of 6 feet of height. They'll probably grow to 20 feet of height within a few years on that. The other thing that you had asked us to do is to provide you with a rendering of the proposed building. It was a late delivery to you today, so I don't know if those are available digitally yet, but I do have handouts of those as well. If you'd like me to pass those around to you, I'd be happy to do.
You questioned Mara, and I knew she'd pull up her magic.
Yep, she sure did, and again, we apologize. That was a 4 o'clock email that we sent over, so we appreciate you accommodating that. Of course, I don't expect you to have a lot of time to digest them yet, but essentially the building has tall garage bays at what I would call the rear, which actually faces the existing access is perpendicular to Spectacle Pond Road, and the building itself is perpendicular to Spectacle Pond Road due to the required zoning setbacks. So the side that's most visible from the Spectacle Pond Road viewpoint is actually the skinny side of the building. So the side of the building, and then the side that you're looking at there, which has the full height garage bays, that's what I'd call the rear of the building, would have very limited visibility to anybody except people circulating through the site itself. And then the other rendering is the front of the building, which faces the Stoneyard facility right now. And that's on the opposite side of the access easements that's shared by a couple sites there. And again, so this is to basically supplement and provide interior workspaces for things that are essentially going on at the site already. Also to provide the potentially future tenants to have the ability to do the same there. They intend to rent or lease sections of these as well. And without getting into the peer review items, which were the technical items, those were really our homework items that you had asked us to come back to. So if the board has any questions on those, I'd be happy to address them. If not, I'll address my colleague, Ryan Proctor's here. He handled a lot of the peer review comments, and so we'll both be able to answer any questions that Green may have at this time.
Board, have any questions before I open it up to peer review? Andy, do you have any questions or concerns?
I just want to make sure that that site plan was signed. I think I remember asking about that the last time. Warren, can you tell from the
Site plan 11-4.
Yep, great, awesome. Yeah, no, I don't have anything else other than what's in the peer review.
Bartlett?
The different colors around the building represent paved and non-paved access ways for trucks?
So we had discussed this a little last time. The site or the zoning bylaw for the proposed use requires what we would consider more parking than what the facility will actually need. So what we have on the front section of the building, which faces the easement, and that is hatched in the darker gray color, those are paved parking spaces as well as handicap spaces that would be required. And then there's a surface for vehicles to circulate around the entirety of the building. And we've also lightly hatched out supplemental parking areas. That would be additional parking that could be developed to bring it into full compliance with the zoning bylaw. It would be the applicant's intent at this time only to pave the front section and provide that parking as they don't feel they need this.
What's the maximum size truck that you anticipate going into those buildings?
SU-30 vehicle probably, so like a UPS size or a little bit bigger.
Okay.
Anything else? No? Jeff?
In the rendering, there's an apparent second floor. What's the purpose of that?
So each floor in total is 9,000 square feet for the first floor and a maximum of 9,000 square feet in second floor. That's finished, or excuse me, exterior dimensions of the building. The intent is for the entirety of the first floor to essentially be an open garage bay or like a workshop warehouse area. And the second floor could be offices to supplement whatever tenant is using that bottom floor.
Okay.
So one stair, two stairs going up?
We haven't really gotten that far, to be honest.
I'm looking at the building inspector behind there, and I'm thinking all those questions, and that's really not, that's up to them to figure out, yeah.
Probably just a ladder for them to climb up to the second
Yeah, and a
floor.
fire pole to slide down, so.
Elisa?
Yeah, I had a question too about the second floor. Has there been any thought of making those live spaces for the craftspeople who work?
There hasn't. So part of our special permit, it's in the Aquifer Overlay District, which has a gallons per day that we're allowed to effluent or septic system, excuse me. So our special permit is requested to allow us to go slightly over what it could do without the special permit. We're well under what the state would allow, but the usage of a bedroom at 110 gallons per day per bedroom would really spike our flows quite a bit. It would probably not be feasible.
Okay, thank you.
So this is sort of like what's over there in Air as you go from Air to Groton, right? All the
Catalos?
well, Catalos is one. Roger Kennard has a whole building too. Yeah, same exact thing. Open space downstairs. You can put a tractor. You can put a big dump truck in there. You can work on it. Office space
like
upstairs. Yeah.
Your former space.
Well, hers didn't have a second floor. Hers didn't have.
No, I only had a
Well,
loft.
they had a loft, but,
Yeah,
But it
which they may end up doing too.
But did it have a big garage space where you could bring a whole? Really? Okay. All right, same kind of idea. Screening, grading, and all that other stuff. It's next to the dump, for God's sakes. It's it's not a whole lot you can do.
Again, I mentioned this last time. I live on Spectacle Pond, way down at the other end. But and there are a lot of people who live on that. Whitetails off of there.
Okay,
You turn down that road.
Yeah, you got the stone yard with the.
Well,
equally-
and Middlesex
that's not
is one of the nicest maintained
Yeah,
properties
yeah, so I
in town,
think- Yeah.
This is a big square box with a couple of trees around it.
Right,
It's
but I think
next to the
having
big-
some nice screening,
You got the dump right after it, so you're gonna get the, do the
Transfer
best you
station,
can.
transfer station.
Well, that transferred 20 years ago, trust me. So do you wanna, why don't we find out where we're at
I
with
can
peer
step
review?
aside for right
All
now,
right.
and we'll address any questions that come up.
So I invite Tom to, or
Yeah, go ahead.
Jim to come every few meetings, just so, but we remember who he is.
Do we have any
doing all this
outstanding
work.
issues, or how they doing?
They did pretty good. I took the initial review, had some minor ADA grading issues, but, and some stormwater calculation, little corrections here and there, but nothing major, no real red flags. I haven't had a chance to review the revised material that they gave yet, which was a few days ago, but I did review their responses, and it seems like they are gonna address everything, so I don't see any major issues.
Great. Does the
So
board have any?
One of the ways I tell if it's a design that's been well done or not is the number of pages of
Yeah.
comments, and they were under 3, so it was,
Oh, under 3 pages or
Yes.
under 3 comments?
and
Okay.
under 3 pages.
Okay.
So we don't really have anything outstanding, we can't.
No, they're still going back and forth now, but
So can we push, have them come in next meeting and have a decision? You think? We're that close? Okay.
Well, I still have some questions.
But you had no questions. Now you say you have
Say
questions.
that.
I asked you if you had anything else, you said, no, you were good.
No.
Want to play the tape back?
Sure, go ahead. We'll
Go
go for
ahead,
it.
never mind. Go. What are the questions or concerns?
Well, so peer review number 27 about the monitoring wells. I just really think that, because I believe Light and Water had requested those, I really think it's important to go ahead and make sure that that gets done.
You don't have a problem with monitoring wells, right?
I mean, we normally don't do them for an infiltration area like this. I assume that's what the comment stemmed from, stormwater regs?
Yeah, it's from the Aquifer Resource District bylaw. You know, we make this comment pretty much on every site, and kind of, usually you have to
We can
coordinate
put the
with
water department in touch with you guys, they can put the wells in and monitor it for you.
Yeah, if it's the board's prerogative, I mean, we're not here to fight that.
Okay.
It's not something that's always done on something like this, but by all means, we're happy to oblige
Okay.
that.
And then, Mari, could you scroll to number 36, please? So the O&M plan, I just found it interesting that the response was that the O&M plan would get signed afterward, so what's typical, Jim?
well, you can make it a condition of the, condition of approval, but, you know, typically it's always nicer to have the signature up front when you approve it.
Yeah.
Because then you own it, you know? But as a condition of approval, you're gonna have to receive it anyway at some point. So either way is fine with me, up to you guys.
Okay. Yep. So I just want to make sure that we get that signature on that plan. So those were my 2 questions that I had.
That's it. And I think we've gone through the whole, we're good, so we can, when do you want to put this on for?
So how long do you think it'll take to turn around your review? I don't know what your schedule looks like. Sorry to put you on the spot.
I guess when's the next hearing date?
We have a meeting on the 16th, so.
Next
The 16th.
Wednesday.
Next Wednesday.
And
Next Wednesday? I don't know if I could turn around that quickly. Is there,
Followed by, everybody would be here. We don't have a full quorum on the 1st, the remote meeting, but everybody will be here on the 7th, December 7th. Have a
Want to shoot for
decision
the
drafted.
7th of December, good, all right?
7 at 7?
7 at 7, sure.
And do you anticipate having a draft decision in advance of that then?
Yes.
Okay, great, thank you.
Okay, so we'll continue this till December 7th at 7 PM, how's that?
We could do it earlier.
6:30?
6:30.
6:30, December 7th, how's that?
We'll be here.
All right.
Anything
Thank you.
That's it?
That's it, I think
All
we're
right.
good.
Thank you all for your time. Thank you for your review.
Thank you. Miss, go ahead, wait,
What's that?
we have a question from the audience, Mr. Sanders.
Oh.
Thought you left. You were gone.
Came back. I was putting the chairs up.
Oh, all right.
Mr. Chairman, George Sanders, 672 Great Road. This building, is this a building that has no retail?
No retail.
Okay. Second question is, the office or space operation is going to be on the 2nd floor and garage on the 1st. What happens if you have someone with disability? Are you gonna put a chairlift or something there so they can get to the second floor?
My guess, I'm gonna answer that one for you. My guess is they would build the office on the first floor.
Well, I thought you said the office was gonna be on the second floor.
It could be on the first floor as well, too.
Well, he said it's gonna be a garage. You don't put the garage on the second floor.
No, you wouldn't, you're not gonna have it's 9,000 square foot garage, that's a big garage. So if you had somebody that, either that or you.
Mr. Chairman, I can address that.
I'm just looking at the diagram.
All right, go ahead.
So, you are correct in that we do have ADA compliant spaces and entrances to the building. And if needed, whatever tenant was using that space and as required by the building code, they would adapt the interior of that specific unit to do so.
Okay.
See, I'm smart.
Oh, you not.
Thank you, George. Yes, sir. Thought we were done, I guess we're not.
I have a quick question. Mark Rambacher, 205 Hartwell. There's that dirt road that goes between the two properties. Is there improvements to that road? What's the status of, is it going to be at least paved through down the hill or anything? It's really rough now. I don't know if there's any improvements being made.
It's not your road, right? It's,
Correct, Mr. Chairman, so I can address that to the board. That was actually one of the peer review comments, is to make sure that we had rights to utilize that to go in and out of our site, even though they're presently using that to go in and out of our site due to the steep hill on Spectacle Pond Road. But we do have an easement, but it's shared by multiple properties. They all have rights to go in and out and use that for what it's being used for and what it's being proposed to be used for. But as you said, we do not own that. It's only an easement.
okay. Anyone else? Can I move on to the next thing now? Wait for December 7th? Perfect. Just trying to get you done on that. All right, thank you all. We'll see you on December 7th.
Thank you.
Thanks again.
Zoning bylaw for 7:30 has been continued.
Rescheduled.
Has been rescheduled for November 16th as well. The A&R for 195 Tehadawon has been withdrawn without prejudice.
Withdrawn just
Yes.
late yesterday.
Yeah. So we're not gonna, all we have left is Robinson Road, that's it. Not until 8:15.
Mm-hmm.
Huh. What do we do till then?
You could take a break.
Can we adjourn for a half an hour?
Recess.
Recess for a half hour?
I am recused for the last hearing, so I'm gonna
Go home?
Well, I'm gonna go to the office to do work too.
Sure, yeah, sure. Thank you. Okay, so
Mr. Chairman, I have a question.
okay, go ahead.
I didn't see public input on the agenda, so that's why I got a question.
All right, we already did it, but you were doing chair, so go ahead.
Okay.
I'll give you a half hour, George. I got nothing else to do.
Mr. Chairman, George Sanders, 672 Great Road. With regards to 571, I didn't want to bring it up at the time, but I had a question. Are you requiring them to have on file a liability policy for that operation?
We never brought it up. I'm assuming she must have something for the farm. Okay.
Well, I think that's a
retail
crucial-
establishment. She's got people coming and going there.
Well, I think that's a crucial issue with that operation, that if people got complaints about some damage or whatever the case may be, I just think that that type of operation should have a liability.
Well, you should mention that to her, but it's not our business.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, we already closed the hearing, too.
Yeah, plus we already closed the hearing.
Yeah, I know you closed the hearing. I just,
I
would suggest that if the planning board wanted to weigh in on insurance, and that would be the very first time
Yeah, we've never.
Yeah.
that you did.
Yeah, I mean, it's their risk.
it's their risk, but I'm concerned about the people that are around them if they suffer damage.
Well, they're the ones who would go after the farm.
Yeah. Okay.
That's what God made lawyers for. That's what God made lawyers for.
Thank you for your interest, though.
Good, George. All right, can we recess for half an hour or so?
So I'm sort of curious.
So Jeff can leave? Do we have to shut it off? Do we have to tell them, or what do we do? Or are they gonna just keep?
So,
Just
it's like this.
The three people that are watching on TV are back.
So are you.
We're live?
You're
Oh, good.
live.
Oh, good.
Just on you.
Thank you. Cool. All right, so we have an 8:15 continued public hearing. 265, 277, 287, 289 Great Road, and 25 Robinson Road. Site plan review, stormwater permit, Northern Bank redevelopment. Gentlemen.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. Just approach the podium a little bit, but for the record, Attorney Mark Vaughn, representing the bank, property owner in connection with the application. I know we've had an opportunity to be before you. It's our third hearing with you since it's been opened, but obviously we're here for the site plan application for the properties on Great Road. Larry Mon and Sean Mahoney, both of whom are with Northern Bank and have been at some of the prior hearings. I know you've met. And also we have Beth Dermody, who is the landscape architect with Allen and Major, who's here. She was not able to be here at your prior meeting, and we thought that it would be best to use tonight to be able to get into the landscape architecture. I know that at the first hearing, we had a pretty detailed presentation just about the project in general. Talked about drainage, stormwater design, a lot of the site civil items, traffic. We had our traffic engineer here. And then at the last meeting, obviously Dan Barton with Mogul, the architectural firm, gave a pretty detailed presentation in terms of the architectural design. But we know that landscaping is something that's of great importance to the board and the town in terms of how we go about designing the site and building the landscaping into the design. And along Robinson Road, I know we got some feedback at the last hearing about what we could do in terms of maximizing tree preservation, how we might be able to maximize that berm as well. And I recall some other input about specific trees, and in fact, a 36-inch linden tree, if we might be able to preserve that. And I'm very pleased to say that I think you're going to be happy with what you see here tonight, because we've been working pretty hard on this over the past few weeks to be responsive to those items. So rather than my keep babbling on here, I'm going to have Beth come up. We've got a presentation that we wanted to show you just to show how we've been able to respond to a lot of that. So thank you.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Beth Dermody from Allen and Major Associates, landscape architect. I can start our presentation here up on the top. And our engineer, Sean, was not able to be here tonight. He came down with some sickness, but he has kind of helped us get some of the presentation together. And this first plan is a basic zoning and parking, kind of showing the building massing and green space that's left. The second plan is more of the landscape. And I'll get into this. You've seen this before. We've kind of been working along some comments that we got about Robinson Road and existing trees. But for an overview of the landscape, we have our 5 different types of buildings here. From the left, we have Northern Bank, we have a market, building B, building C could have retail or restaurant, in D, and then E could have a coffee shop. And we've designed a lot of pedestrian areas for people to be walking to these uses. And we have a central plaza, if you can see, there's a white pergola, and brick pavers, where that would be kind of the hub of the pedestrian activity. And in the back of D, we have a patio for a restaurant with some string lights. We also have in the front of D some seating that's off of Great Road, and we're looking to put a little bit more seating off of Great Road on Building E to pull people in and keep the pedestrian action activated along Great Road. And so we're working with that with Dan Barton, the architect, as well. And we're going to implement, bicycle access as well as pedestrian access. And the centerpiece, of course, is Northern Bank at the left, and we have a nice plaza there, an entrance, and you'll see that we have a video that kind of wraps around and shows that piece at the end of the presentation. I can show you. If you look on this plan, the light green trees that are larger, oh good, you can see my hand here. These are all existing trees to be saved. And we didn't show all of these last time because our surveyor has just gone out and we tagged the trees, and we have the DBH, they're large, they're over 10 inches. And of course, there are more small trees to be saved in the top corner here, but these light trees are trees to be saved that we have located, and we're gonna, put a construction fence around and say, we need to save these trees as a buffer. And we have 3 here by the bank. As you go up around Robinson Road, we have the 36-inch linden tree. At the corner, there are quite a few trees, but the large ones are shown here. And they're also in and around these storm drainage areas. And we did have some grading in there, but we're able to work with the grades to save those, and I'm working with Sean on that. And as you keep going around, we have a few more trees to be saved around the property line, and a pine down by the coffee shop. And on Robinson, we also have a berm, and we have a 6-foot-high fence. And Sean created this for some sections to show you what the berm can look like. The first, well, I guess we'll start with section A, is at the bottom. Section A is through the parking by the bank, and then it goes through to Robinson Road, kind of at the beginning of Robinson Road, and you can see how it can screen a pedestrian on Robinson Road. They really won't be able to see all these cars, and there'll be a nice buffer with this existing stone wall and the 6-foot-high fence. Then B, the berm gets a little bit taller, and we have the same treatments, the existing stone wall, which we plan to continue along Robinson Road, where places where it was kind of broken, we'll fill it in. And the 6-foot-high fence and the berm. And this buffer gets bigger as you go back, and section C shows that it's larger here, and it is a pretty tall berm, so you won't be able to see through. And here's the overall landscape plan. And we have, the update is the existing trees to be saved. And we have about 39 new existing trees that we have tagged to be saved. And if we go to the next slide, we have a plant list, plant palette. We're trying to keep all native. And the total number of trees, added planting proposed trees to the site from the nursery is, almost 300. And when you add the existing trees to be saved, there'll be over 300 trees saved and planted on the site. So we hope that can add to the habitat and kind of average in some more nature into this development. And this second half shows that back buffer where we have a lot of the existing trees. We have a seed mix that's a wild seed mix for the detention areas. And we also, actually, if you go back, there are wildflower areas by the bank, and there's also a wildflower meadow by the market. And grasses and short stone walls, and this is all to have a nod to the agrarian past of Littleton. So we can kind of have some linear agricultural looking planting without it being crops. And we're trying to keep the streetscape activated with street trees, with the short stone walls. We're going to add a patio in front of E and reconfigure some seating areas in front of C and D, so we'll have more pedestrian access as we work on the plan. And these are just some planting details and the tree preservation fence. These are our seed mixes and landscape notes. There was a comment, this will be irrigated. We have a comment in here that's our typical irrigation comment that you'll need to have a proposed landscape areas will be provided with water efficient underground irrigation designed to be performed by an approved irrigation design build contractor. And we also say in here that we want it to be efficient water usage. So we're not just, you know, over irrigating. And a lot of these plants are native, so they don't really need a lot of water. But, you know, this will be more efficient. And then let's get to some color pictures. Here is a material board of the plantings. We have red maple. We have a car pick red maple, which is more, it's more columnar, and it kind of fits with architecture and is low maintenance for parking and architectural treatments. And I did see a comment that, you know, sometimes you don't want that, it's not as natural. So we can look at that if we want a larger canopy tree in certain areas. We have a serviceberry, we have river birch, we have American linden, we have swamp white oak, or I think pin oak, which is also native, is on the plan. We have eastern red cedar, balsam fir, and white spruce. These are some very good screening plants. And as they grow, they really grow up more than they grow wide. And there was a comment about pine trees for screening. And I do love white pine, and we used it in the back more in the natural area because if we put it in the screening zone, it might get too wide for the fence. And as they get on in age, 20 years later, you might have some looser branches at the bottom, where these will be more full at the bottom for their lifetime. We have compact inkberry, viburnum, hydrangea for some flowers. And we have these natives, these are all native perennials, coreopsis, blue stem grass, Shenandoah switchgrass is a variety of switchgrass, baptisia, prairie dropseed, and purple coneflower. And let's see, this one got zoomed in. This is our hardscape and site furniture. These are some examples of items that can be used on the site. And Dan Barton, the architect, and I kind of worked on what type of treatments we could use, and we're thinking a modern style bench. The modern white pergola can be the centerpiece in the plaza. We'll have wildflower areas and simple modern planting more in a linear fashion. We have granite post bollards, which is more of an agrarian touch. And these bollard lights and string lights, more of a pedestrian feel for the lighting. And we also did do, we're starting a lighting plan, so we can look at what they have for fixtures. We have a dark stain privacy fence that you'll see in the video too. We have traffic calming, different pavement patterns. We have a bike rack that's more interesting looking. We look to use brick pavers. They'll probably be porous pavers for the stormwater. We can use a stamped concrete plank for interest. And this Boston Blend ashlar is a really nice stone wall veneer look for some of the stone walls that could be built that are seat walls. This is the kind of surface in front of the bank along linear modern look. Concrete and a stone wall with perennials, not necessarily daylilies. So we have that. And then I do have the video.
If I could just maybe introduce the video. So at
Oh,
the last
sure.
meeting, if you recall, we did show a video along Great Road in terms of the buildings and the landscaping, and I think the board had asked if we could do something similar for the Robinson Road side. So we have been working on that, and not the easiest thing to put together. It's pretty labor intensive, but we were able to get it done for today. And hopefully, Dan's not here, but Dan and his crew helped put it together. But
Yeah, we were working with Dan. We made some edits to it. He was crunching the rendering and it's a big file, and he got it going. So here we are, going down Robinson Road toward the bank. You can see that we're trying to show the existing stone wall that we can add to and make continuous, the existing trees, some of the buffer trees, and that dark stained fence. So that really kind of hides the parking, hides a lot of the development, really. Here's some existing trees we can save, this large one, and we have a couple screening trees, and then another large existing tree to be saved. And then here's the front of the bank with the stone seat walls and the meadow. There's another tree in the middle of the corner there that we can save. And then we'll zoom on back and see it again. And of course, these are rendering trees. They don't have like they don't have linden. They don't have certain species, so.
this shows how we did extend the stone wall and actually utilize it to build the berm up. That wasn't originally shown, and it's something that we have modified.
Yep. So there you have it. That's our 3D rendering and visualization for the Robinson Road side. We can go back to the plan if we have other questions.
Thank you. Anyone have any questions?
Looks great.
I think it looks very nice. The video is very, very helpful.
Right.
It is.
What is the purpose of the fence? What are you trying to keep in or out?
Fence is really for the car headlights and the noise of shoppers and. You know,
Residents had requested it.
Yeah, the
The
residents.
residents of Robinson
Did
Road.
request a fence.
Okay.
Yeah.
Could the fence be moved off of the top of the berm back towards the parking so that it's not quite as obtrusive for the people on Robinson Road?
Oh, well, I think they wanted it as tall as possible.
Yeah.
They did request, they requested even an 8-foot fence, and we said, ooh, that would require a variance, so
Yes.
we're just gonna stick with a 6-foot fence for now.
Yes,
think the
this is
intent
what
was-
they requested.
Actually, I thought what they requested also, in addition to the size of the fence, was that it actually be along the perimeter of the parking lot so that they could actually enjoy the trees as opposed to the fence.
I think the code says that the fence is supposed to run along the road, which is what we did, that you're not allowed to move the fence in under the code. There's special, in your form-based code for parking, we're required to provide screening and that screening is supposed to go along the road. So I don't think we have liberty to move the fence around.
Okay, well, I just wanted to comment that that's what the residents had requested, so I didn't know whether or not that was something that you all had considered.
We considered I put, a variety of different screening plants, and we've kind of tweaked the plan so we can save those existing trees that'll be on that side. And there'll be a nice buffer with the stone wall. I think if we moved it toward the parking anymore, it kind of would look out of place. I think it's right in the middle, and it kind of fits in between the landscape right now. So I think it's doing as best we can.
Anything else?
So the sidewalk goes all the way, how far down?
The sidewalk kind of starts at the bank, and it comes out and kind of curves around that corner. Here's my little thing, goes around, and we have a 10-foot sidewalk, which is quite large, but I guess that's what the zoning wants. And we go all the way down to the end of the property. And there is a sidewalk along Robinson Road, but it's on the other side.
So our sidewalk would hug around the curve of, you could see the far left, but it would end there. But it's a full sidewalk, obviously, along our entire Great Road frontage.
Could you show the video one more time?
Yeah, sure. That really shows you what Robinson Road has in the corner. Here we go again, going down Robinson Road.
And so the grassy area would be walkable.
Yep.
Yeah, there's still quite a buffer. The right-of-way where the town owns to where the property line is, there's quite a bit of grass there. And then we have the existing trees that are quite large, and we moved that stone seat wall back a little bit to stay out of their root zone.
Okay.
And there are a couple of other trees that are kind of leaning on this very corner, and I made a note for an arborist to check them for health, to see what to do if we save those or not.
So the sidewalk stops but the wall goes all the way to the end of the development?
Yep, yeah, it does. And in the center, the wall kind of, I guess it got deteriorated over the years, or it's just not there. It's like an old farm wall. So we'll renovate that and keep it continuous. And it goes behind the linden tree. So we'll put that in there. Let's see if I can find the wall. Yeah, you can see the wall. Wall starts around here, and then it keeps going. And then we'll go around the linden tree and connect back, and then it kind of goes to the end of the property. Okay. It seems to continue on, but, our part will end there.
And there's no fencing on that far right-hand side? Or
there is a fence that runs the whole length, and we made a note, there was a comment that they wanted wildlife to get into these areas, so we'll have the fence up 6 inches from the grade, so wildlife can pass under in this one section.
That came out through the Conservation Commission process. They wanted a gap in the bottom of the fence for the critters to be able to go through, or whatever it might be. But
yeah, so we'll do that, and then this goes along in through here. And, there are existing trees. There's a tree line here, and we'll try to put these things in and amongst the existing trees, which it'll be a challenge, but there's a lot of vegetation that will kind of snake things in between. And then, of course, there is grading that has to happen for these detention areas, but we'll grade around these trees so it won't disturb them.
Anybody else? Any other questions or concerns? Teresa? Anna, you have anything else? Or?
So in terms of preserving the trees, like during construction, one of our town folk had suggested something that you all might already be planning on doing. Let's see if I can find it. So, I don't know if there's anybody else who has a question while I find it.
I think we do have input from Bicycle and Pedestrian Committee and from the Shade Tree Committee.
You've been already waiting on it.
They're-
Over here?
yeah.
Oh, that's, do you want to show them?
Sure.
Yeah.
Jerry Cavallo, 8 Uplands Road. I represent the Bicycle and Pedestrian Committee. We reviewed the plans, and it appears that they've created this beautiful oasis for bicycles and pedestrians. Problem is, there's no way for a bicycle or pedestrian to get there. It would be nice if we had a bicycle lane in front of it, and I know we had talked about, or the developer had talked about a crosswalk, and that would be optimal so that people could actually walk to this. I don't know how you get across Route 119 to get there. And given the accidents that have happened on 119 in Acton, and maybe there's going to be some movements here in the near future to put safe crosswalks across 119, we would like to see the town jump on that and maybe put one in front of this development. But we were happy with the development as it is. Like I said, there's a 10-foot pedestrian walkway in front, and there's all sorts of protected walkways internally, there's bicycle racks. It all looks good, but it's just the access to get to it. We're not. I'd like to see the work that was done on King Street across from Shell Station. They have the bike lanes there. I'd like to see that continue on 119 and go down.
We'll have to, we're dealing with the state on that one. There was talk about putting bike lanes on either side, widening the road and all of that stuff when we started the form-based code stuff, but the state hasn't bought in on that yet either.
Thank you.
Yeah, I would suggest it's a good time to have the discussion because when Great Road is torn up for sewer construction, that'll be the time to do
it. I'll try to get at least one bike path in. All right, did you find what you were looking for?
Yeah, so Julie Rupp had presented this to the planning board, and it's for preservation of trees in the vicinity of the construction area, and I don't know if this is something that you all have worked on or seen before, but just wanted to pass that along.
Okay, great. Yeah, this is the critical root zone around the tree and like under the tree canopy, the roots are there, so we do need to preserve that and put a fence.
So those are called best management, best practices, so if that can be incorporated into the work that's going to be done, that would be great.
Yeah, we have a basic tree detail, but I think I do have a more robust one I can use. This one just has a basic fence and some stakes, but we can look into getting a better one that has a diagram. I think I had a different detail I can use.
Great, thank you.
Okay.
Okay, anyone else? Can I open it up to the public, please? Anybody? Yes.
I'm here for Shade Tree.
You gotta stand up and go over there.
Kim Ahern, I was asked by Lauren, I think somebody on the planning board asked the Shade Tree Committee to weigh in, so I have some comments based on that. But I also am a landscape architect, as some of you know, and a resident, so I have some comments for that too. So I can say them all at once.
Sure.
I've also submitted this to the board, so it's a little bit lengthy. I'll try to speed it up. Generally, we really like the plan and appreciate the natives, the diversity, but we'd like to see a little more diversity in the trees along King Street. The type of maple, as Beth mentioned, it's kind of a columnar tree. I think we'd rather see something that's more of a canopy tree and more diversity in the species. If That's what we've tried to do around towns, for instance, at the Common. We're not using one type in case there's a disease that comes through. You want to have a diverse palette of trees so you don't lose everything. So maybe you could look at some other kinds of trees along there. And we'd like to see a few more trees or a couple of spots, and I've listed them here. We'd like to see 2 more large shade trees along King Street, one in front of the stone wall at Building B, one between the 2 trees in front of the parking to the left of Building B. And there's another space for one at Building D and E. And in front of Building B, there's a nice big open space where I think that's meadow grass, and that might be a good opportunity to plant a nice specimen type tree. There's a lot more room there. Then I have some comment. So that's basically Shade Tree Committee, where our jurisdiction is really just along the street. So my comments off of the Shade Tree Committee, just my own, are that it would be nice to have more inkberry along some of the stone walls along King Street to screen the parking, especially between D and E. I'm questioning the use of the Cornus Florida. Those tend to get anthracnose, and it might be nice to use a different kind of flowering tree, so that doesn't, we don't have a problem with that. There are lots of really very nice grasses and perennials that are shown, but they take a lot of maintenance, so I would hope that the owner would provide a maintenance plan and describe maybe, I assume you have a maintenance company and what the procedure would be through the year, how often they'd be cutting the plants back and so forth. We addressed the irrigation system, and I would assume most of it's going to be drip irrigation. I see that next presentation. And I didn't see a note about this, but I would hope that the landscape architect selects the plants herself at the nursery and is on site during the installation. And just a couple of things about just along the street. It'd be nice to see some benches that have actually backs, the wood benches. I like the modern benches that you've picked, but I think it's a little more inviting and warm to have benches with backs and arms so that older people, when they sit down, they have an arm to help them get up. And I know it's this form-based code thing, but even in the video, when you look at that 10-foot sidewalk, I mean, they use 10 feet in New York City, or if it's even 10 feet. And if we're required to do that, I think it's going to look out of place in Littleton. So if there's any way we could go back to a 5-foot, a more normal width of sidewalk, I think it would look a lot better and a lot more in keeping with our town. And I think that's about it.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Anyone else? Yes, Mr. Sanders. You've waited this long, I have to let you speak.
Mr. Chairman, George Sanders, 672 Great Road. I'm concerned about, one, the crossing from one of the sidewalk to the other sidewalk. The kid that got hit in Acton there, he played basketball with my son. And over at the mill there in Westford, they put on a drive over there to raise money for him. That is a crucial item that I think this development should have there. because it's the same roadway that this kid got hurt crossing there. And I think that the developer can go through James Ciro and Mr. Moran owned Toyota down there. He was sort of kind of concerned about his people crossing over there at Duncan because the people just fly down the road left and right there. And he had Mr. Ciro to check in on that. I don't know whatever happened, but I know I wrote a letter with regards to that. So I think that's something definitely needs to be pursued right there, because we're sort of kind of anticipate once this thing get going over there, there's going to be people that's going to be going across the roadway there. And we certainly don't want nobody to get hit, especially our seniors. As far as that go, anybody. I think that's one thing. The other thing is that I talked to the building commission. He came down and had a conversation with me with regards to requesting before a building permit was going to be issued. They're going to have to get a letter from the Commission on Disability agreeing that everything is okay. So we want to see the layout of the parking there at the buildings and so forth to make sure that everything is fine. So,
Thank you.
thank you.
We do, the green does that for us, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll get something from green. Anyone else? Go ahead. Yeah, all right.
Sarah Van Backer, with the Sustainability Committee. We did send in a letter with some comments, so I just wanted to draw attention to a couple things. And in our letter, we had mentioned native plantings and low-impact development. So those are looking good, and open space, gathering areas, all good things. We did want to mention a couple things. We'd love to see some EV chargers or plans for that, or infrastructure for that. Maybe they're added later, but putting in the infrastructure for that now. Lighting is another thing that I assume you'll be thinking about coming up. Low energy and downward facing, and I know this is something that the neighbors are also concerned about. So, and then pedestrian connection, as was mentioned before, is another thing that we would definitely like to see attention to. So our letter is on the record, but just wanted to call attention to a few things.
They have to adhere to our lighting bylaw for this.
We have a plan we're going to be submitting next week, a photometric plan, but you know, we spoke to Dan Barton, the architect, and Sean Malone. All the fixtures are going to be dark sky compliant, and you know, they're going to be as low as they can be in terms of the height of them, just to make sure that there's zero light spillage onto any adjacent properties.
And we'll probably follow up with the select board to see if there's any way they can work on trying to get a sidewalk to
Crosswalk?
that area. What?
Crosswalk?
Crosswalk, I meant, excuse me. Crosswalk. One thing that, okay. When we first started this project, now I know you're not planning any housing here. We did talk briefly about maybe the bank helping us with our affordable housing trust in lieu of putting housing there. Just want to remind you of that. Maybe that's something you might be interested in helping us fund it to get affordable out there. I understand that you don't want to put housing in, and I sort of agree that with everything that's going on with the Lapoli company, that maybe housing would be better over there in office space over here. But you know, we talked about doing something to help out with 12 Robinson Road, but maybe we could do something, because Bartlett's in charge of the Affordable Housing Trust. He can always use money, right?
Absolutely.
So, something you might want to think about, because I know Mr. Sanders is concerned that there's going to be no housing out there. So, something to think about, and maybe give us an answer in our next meeting.
So, Mr. Chair, if I can add to that.
Okay.
So I know that we had talked a year ago about needing to see the site plan and everything. So we're at that point, and I just have to say it has been disappointing that we had 25 Robinson Road as a home, and that's going to be taken away, and the 12 Robinson Road house is still there, and that was a discussion point. And now we're talking about potential payment in lieu of. So I would just like to offer up that, based off of information that the Affordable Housing Trust received earlier this month from the Habitat for Humanity, that is that the cost to build out a home right now is between $220,000 to $240,000. So that is a figure that I wanted to make sure everybody was clear about, because by not building something, that is essentially what the town is missing an opportunity to receive, is housing. And it, quite frankly, since this is the first development that is truly being built out using the form-based code, it is very disappointing that we aren't having any housing built here, because that was actually the intention of this.
Of the code.
So,
I respect and appreciate what you said. I know you've mentioned that before. I mean, the code does not require residential to be built. It's not in the code, so I don't want anyone to think that we're not complying with it. So there's nothing that requires us to do a mixed-use development that includes residential.
I understand that, and what you are saying is correct. However, I would say that going back to the first meeting that I know I was present at back in December of 2019 with Jim Mon, there was the whole idea of you all, being really good neighbors, and that you wanted to be a cornerstone foundation for the community. And I just feel that in that particular aspect, Northern Bank isn't listening to what the community is asking for. And as for the development itself, going back 3 years, you all have had the same plan since then. It's the exact same plan, other than Robinson Road doesn't have an exit and Building E got moved up, but it's pretty much the same plan. So nothing has really changed in 3 years, because you all really want what you want, and I can understand that, but I'm hoping that you will listen to what the town is saying from the standpoint of wanting, that the intention was to have some housing. And so, as Chair Montanari said, I hope that you take that under advisement, because it is very important to us. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? Sure, Jerry, one more time.
Jerry Cavallo, 8 Uplands Road, Bicycle Pedestrian Committee. I don't want to start a battle of the committees here, but we really like the 10-foot wide sidewalk. The reason is there's no bike lanes, so essentially you're going to have to walk a bike on that sidewalk as you go in. So if you're walking your bike, you're now about 4 feet wide. And if there's a wheelchair there or something, you actually need a wider sidewalk, and we think it's inviting. And for those reasons, we would like to keep the wider sidewalk.
Okay.
That's all.
Thank you. Okay.
So status of the peer review, we will have updated site plans early next week, and then Green and UTIL will both be able to get started on their peer review at that time, hoping for a back and forth between now and the presumed December 7th continuation.
Okay. I want to thank you for the video. That was very well done, very, very helpful. Done a nice job. I personally think Robinson Road looks very nice.
Yes, and I'm going to state that I think you guys have done an excellent job at responding to the community. I have, and this is where I'm sorry, I disagree with my colleague Anna, but I think you have listened. I understand why you don't want to put residential housing there. I think we're going to have more than enough residential housing downtown. And I really like the fact that you're looking at adding more pedestrian seating areas. I love the fact that you are saving a lot of trees. You have listened to the neighbors, Robinson Road, repeatedly over the past 3 years. So I want to commend you on your patience with the process and for your just your understanding of how important this is to the town.
I agree. You're putting candid trees there. I think you've done a fantastic job of the landscaping out there, what Robinson Road is gonna be when it's done, I think is gonna be superior than what it is there now. I understand where Ann is coming from. The form-based coding gives you the option, I get that. I do know that we talked a long time ago about helping out. I'm just reminding you of that, of what that conversation was. If it happens, that'd be great. I think I agree with Delisa, you've done a fantastic job. I agree it hasn't changed in 3 years, because I think 3 years ago was a great plan, so. My only concern is, I agree about a crosswalk. It's definitely something we need to work on. I think it's more our doing than your doing, but we definitely need to see about getting that. Peer review, put you on for the 7th, is that good? December 7th?
Yeah, is that the next meeting?
Yeah, it's the next meeting,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, no, I know that Dan Barton and, is it Util, is my pronunciation? They had a preliminary conversation just to make sure the proper information was being distributed, so I'm hopeful between now and then we could have some feedback, so, yeah.
Yes.
So, 7th is good,
Yeah.
all right.
Thank you.
So if we do
Mr.
this.
Wait, Mr. Sanders has one more question. Go ahead. This is double dipping now, George.
You let this gentleman double dip.
Yeah, but he's on a committee.
Mr. Chairman, George Sanders, 672 Great Road. I think the bank has done a tremendous job as well, okay? I think that they've been in town for quite some time, and I think that the sidewalks being 10 feet wide, that's what the phone-based code called for. It looks nice. They already planned in on where the buildings are at and so forth, so I think we need to not try changing that, because it's already there and they did what we asked. Now, I'm gonna reach out as I spoke to you. I think that it's important that that the bank extend Oliver Branch to them about helping us with the affordable housing trust here. And I think the bank is, in most cases, they always want to be a part of the community. And I feel that you are a part of the community. And I would like to see you help us to try to get something that we have been working on and trying to improve here in the town of Littleton. Now, we're talking about what's going to go up at 550 over there. That's fine and dandy, but we're concerned you're going to start long before probably 550 gets started over there, before they start getting in the houses up over there. So I think just a long-term value of what Littleton means to you as a bank should transition into helping us with our affordable housing trust that we have, that we have some land, so we are trying to get money so we can build some affordable housing so people will have the opportunity. We have seniors that need to downsize, and we don't want to let them leave the town here because they have spent their life here. But the cost is too much for them when it's down to 1 or 2 people that's in a large home. So I'm just asking, to extend Oliver Branch to you and say, come on, bank. Come on, help us a little bit here. I thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, George. You did a better job than I did. Thank you. Thank you. So we'll see you on the 7th?
Like 7:45 for this?
Yeah. Perfect. Anything else?
I just recommend a vote to continue.
Entertain a vote to continue the meeting till 7:45 on December 7th. Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Hopefully, everyone will have talked and we can get the peer review done, and then so that by the 7th we could start to see an end. I know you don't want to see us anymore. Be nice.
I'd love to see you, but also want to see that.
Thank you. We want to see you get started.
Yeah.
It's been 3 years.
So I move that we adjourn.
I'll make a motion that we adjourn. Delisa, you want to leave, or do you want to stick around a little longer?
I want to stay. I just want to move in.
So moved. Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.